Hello, this is teacher Jennifer with Dr. Patricia Hernandez. And Dr. Hernandez, none of my students have been called for their biometrics appointment, for their fingerprints appointment. We're up in San Jose. What's happening down in Los Angeles?
Good morning, Jennifer. You know what? We had an opportunity this week to talk to our community relations officer. She had a webinar, and I have had the similar experience that the students in my class who were canceled, who should have gone in March to their biometrics appointment, have not been rescheduled and have not been recalled. Right. So I asked the community relations officer, and she said, you know, that they are way backed up. Number one. Number two, she said they are not, USCIS does not do the biometrics. It's done by a third party. And so it's not under the control of USCIS. And she indicated to me that there was nationally a huge backlog. I can't remember if it was 1 million or 10 million, but there's a whole lot backlog, and that they could only do like 10,000 a day nationally. So
my question is the person who's the applicant goes to the field, not to the field office, but to a service center.
That's right.
Which is usually controlled by USCIS. Is that correct?
Now that I can't.
Somebody else is actually processing the information.
Actually taking the fingerprints. No, it's not done by, what I understood her to say is that USCIS does not take the fingerprints. It is somebody else. It's a third party. And
yeah, that's really interesting. I have not heard that. I wonder if that's only for Los Angeles or for the entire.
No, I don't think it would be. No, I don't think it would be. Something like this would not be something that would only be for Los Angeles. So I don't believe that. But that's the first I also ever heard that it was a third party, and that what she was saying is that they don't have control over that. And because the only thing that they know, they get updates, and what they get is a national update, and that there's an extreme, because I indicated to her that my students who had been scheduled for March still hadn't been called. And she said it's a very bad backlog. It's huge.
Okay.
And I just went over with her the fact that, if they're not fingerprinted, then their case cannot go forward. That means all of these people, anybody who's applied, not just March, but anybody who's applying now, their case can't go forward until they are fingerprinted.
Exactly. Well, even if they would simply get, if they would get a letter saying that you will be called in, because they used to receive the confirmation letter in 2 weeks that they've received the application, and then about 3 weeks they were called for their fingerprint appointment.
That's the way it is here. Yes, no, exactly. But that's where but the fact is, that for them to call you for your interview, what I had always heard is that they send your fingerprints to 3 different data sources. Right. And that they have to receive all 3 reports from each of those sources before they can go forward with giving you an appointment or your interview. Sorry. And so that just means, and I said this to her, and she agreed. She said, yes, that's true. The cases cannot go forward. They cannot go forward. They can receive your money. They can have your application there, but you cannot go forward, right, for processing until they have your fingerprints, right? The fingerprints, and then they're going to send out the fingerprints to different data sources so that they can be reviewed, right? And that can't happen.
Well, this sounds like something that the Congress will need to address when the new Congress is seated in January.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When will you have your next CRO or stakeholder meeting up in San Jose?
We had one in early December.
Yes, I attended that one. Yes. Yes.
And so I would expect to have one in January. I feel like the USCIS crows are doing their very best to inform the people. I know Seattle is very active in also doing outreach. So the West Coast is, I think, and I'm sure across the nation, people are really trying to stay on top of it.
Well,
But
and I could tell you I could tell that the community relations officer was really, it was a sad point that they that it's very frustrating, right?
yes,
Uh, I see that the old cases are going forward. That is quite surprising to me how quickly they are going forward. But we're going to come to a point where there isn't going to be anybody because they can't receive anybody if they haven't had their fingerprints taken.
Right.
So we'll see.
Well, I think this gets back to you cannot outsource national security. Okay,
Interesting. Yeah, that's
you
a good
can't
comment. Yeah.
outsource citizenship.
Well, and who
You
would have
can't
known?
outsource
Yeah,
people's lives. So
that's right.
I think I think people do outsourcing. In my experience in Silicon Valley, people do outsourcing to save money, and
Exactly. Yes.
this is
Yes.
a place where
Budgetary.
you can't cut corners.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I have one student who's on hold who went through citizenship, but has an arrest way in the past.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and he passed everything, but he still has not been approved to go in and take the oath of office, and he's really discouraged. And that does weigh heavy on a person's heart.
Yeah.
First of all, the guilt of committing the crime, but secondly,
Yeah.
you go through your life, you've done your time, you've done everything right, and still you're waiting. So anyway,
like you're still being punished after you've done your time. Yeah. After
you're still being punished, and you just want to live in peace with your family. And he has a loving family and a lot to look forward to. So anyway, this is something I think we will need to really talk about in the upcoming year with Congress and with the USCIS. We have to talk about the new 128 questions. We have to talk about a good revenue stream for USCIS. I mean, a constant revenue stream. They say that they're dependent on fees, but the thing is that they're trying to do way too much too. So I think they need a consistent revenue stream. They need to clear out the whole
backlog. Yes.
Backlog. So that's number 3. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
It was a pleasure speaking with you today.
And hey, I know I'll probably talk to you beforehand, but have a great Christmas and a new year.
Happy holidays to you.
Bye-bye.